Welcome back, everybody. Glad to have you. It is Thursday, believe it or not. Oh, it gets worse. It's May 15th. We are halfway through the month of May already. Can you believe that? Halfway through the month. That is absolutely, completely insane. I don't know where this year's going. I really don't. It's nuts. Completely bonkers. Yeah. So I got just kind of a show update real quick behind the, a little bit of stuff behind the 8 ball, as it were. Almost forgot. There we go. I got the first video up with the new camera setup, and I'll be honest with you, it took forever to get this done because I didn't know exactly what I was doing per se. And then for some reason, when I was looking at the rough cut of it, it looked awful. I don't know what was going on. It just looked terrible. And I was kind of going, what is going on here? Why does this look so bad? Now, thankfully, when I actually exported the thing and then, to put it up, it looked pretty good. It looked a lot better. And so I ended up posting it. But it's interesting how that works. You'll get something, and when you're setting it up, it's like, oh, what the heck is this? But then when you actually get it done, well, you're good to go. Anyway, I like I said, this was kind of the first thing. It was a side-by-side split screen. I'll be honest with you, I'm not super sold on it. It looked okay. I didn't like how unclear the screen was, though. So I'm actually going to change it a little bit, maybe for this one, and see if this next thing works. But I'll get the second segment from yesterday up today at some point, and I might tweak that one a little bit and see if it works. Then I changed a couple things on today's, and hopefully it'll work. I changed how the recording resolution. I put it up to 1080p just to see if that makes a difference. I don't know if it will. I really don't. But and then the screenshots, the screen recording, I don't know. I can't really change that too much. So I think maybe I'll have to, the screen was the thing that wasn't real clear to me. So I may have to expand that, put me in the corner. I don't know. I see these kids on YouTube doing all their stuff, and I don't know. Anyway, that's not what you're here for, me talking about my difficulties with technology. All right, let's get to it. So I want to start off, and again, if you're not watching, that's fine, because I'm going to describe this. So I like Arby's generally. I mean, if you look at their advertising history, we have the meats. That's brilliant. That was an absolute brilliant advertising campaign. It was awesome. They even made a variant of it about their bags, how their bags were made stronger because they had to hold all the meat. It was good stuff. But once in a while, you'll see a company do something, and you're kind of like, should you have done that? Was that the right decision to make? Do you think that maybe you should have held off on that, or maybe reworded it differently? So we all know that Mother's Day just took place, right? It was this last weekend. And so Father's Day is up next, okay? So Arby's, and again, I don't quite understand what they were thinking when they posted this. I don't understand the calculus. Is it funny? Sure, to a degree. But it's also, let me put it this way. A lot of people took this as racist. I think that's kind of stupid, frankly. There's nothing racist about this per se. You have to read racism into it. You have to want it to be racist. But just in general, as a dad, I don't really care for this. So what it is it pictures. It has a picture of their ham and Swiss sandwich, which is delicious, by the way. Oh, I love Arby's. Anyway, they have a ham and Swiss sandwich pictured. And the post says, unlike Dad, our ham and Swiss actually came back. Now, first of all, abandonment is not funny. That part, it's kind of like, this is funny in a, oh, wow, they actually went there, holy cow, way. But child abandonment is not something to joke about. It's one of the reasons I think today, and we've talked about this, I think one of the reasons why society today is so very messed up is because of the de-emphasis of fathers in family units, in the nuclear family, and the de-emphasis of the nuclear family, especially amongst black people. And so a lot of people actually took this as kind of a quasi-racist joke, in that, that's one of the stereotypes of the black community is as well, if you didn't have a dad growing up, you're probably black, that kind of thing. Sorry, sneezing. Wonderful. But so again, it wasn't meant that way, obviously, but the fact that it could be taken that way is pretty dumb. Now, that in and of itself is bad. But again, as a father, as someone who, really tries to be there for my kids, and I'm not perfect. No one is. My kids will tell you that I'm not perfect. My wife will tell you that I'm not perfect. God will tell you that. Of course, I'm not perfect. Only one being is perfect, and it sure isn't me. But I cannot imagine in any way, shape, or form leaving my kids and not coming back, saying, I'm going to go get ice cream, and then being gone, leaving my wife, by herself. That is so anti everything to me. I don't understand it. I think I'm speaking for a lot of people here. So this to me is one of those cases where just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And I don't know that they need to apologize for it, and then to make it even worse yet, Father's Day is coming up. Why? Why would you do that now? Father's Day is coming up. So to me, it's just in poor taste. Like I said, I don't know that they'll apologize for it, but I don't think it would hurt. I really, 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 really don't think it would hurt for them to apologize for this. Anyway, just kind of a not a random comment to start the day, but certainly something, like I said, Anywho. Oh, wow. So we have a bunch of topics today that have just blown up. Let's put it this way. I guess I'll start with, by the way, I haven't heard anything about that Tren de Aragua thing in ICE, or in Texas rather, in McAllen. So I don't know what's going on there. I haven't heard anything on any other news outlets, but yeah, I have a feeling it was clickbait. So, okay. Let's start with this. So they're talking about this concealed carry thing. One of the big things that the conservatives have wanted the Trump administration to get through in Congress, to codify, is concealed carry reciprocity, nationwide concealed carry reciprocity. So if you are a citizen of, say, Texas, right, which is a constitutional carry state, you're legal to carry there, then people would recognize that. If you're a Washington concealed carry license holder, that would be recognized in all 50 states. Now, not to say that you wouldn't have to you wouldn't have to abide by, say, certain magazine restrictions. For example, like 10-round magazines. I don't know. It's silly, but I think that would be something that would probably be retained, unfortunately. But anyway, that's been a big thing. And it doesn't help that yesterday Congress passed that deal saying, oh, yeah, and we talked about this too, we'll let police officers carry nationwide, not citizens. Well, what's the difference? Sworn to protect and uphold the law, or, a person who is given constitutional rights, by God, actually, you would think about it. So I don't quite understand their logic on that one. So now, adding to this, you have places like the Violence Policy Center. Now, you already had the Brady Group lying 15 ways to Sunday about the National Firearms Act and the bill to reduce the suppressor tax to zero or take them off entirely, better yet. You already had them lying up and down about that. We talked about that yesterday. I'm not going to rehash that. But now this Violence Policy Center, which, is, holy cow. Oh, congratulations to Tiffany Trump. She just gave birth to a baby boy. Didn't even know she was pregnant. But that's Trump's 11th grandkid. So congratulations, Mr. President. Congratulations, Miss Trump. And good on you. Welcome into the world, young Master Trump, right? Anyway, so Violence Policy Center tweets this out. Gun violence took nearly 47,000 lives in 2023. And now the firearms industry and gun lobby want to normalize hidden loaded weapons nationwide. We've stopped dangerous pro-gun policies before with your support. So, first of all, hidden loaded weapons nationwide. Okay. Now, let's look at this from a couple perspectives. One, how does, first of all, you don't have to carry it. Just because you conceal a weapon, conceal a pistol, doesn't mean it's loaded, right? It could be, now, when they say loaded, if they mean loaded by the magazine is in, okay, fair enough. But if they mean chambered, like it's loaded that way, well, that's a whole different cat. Not everybody carries chambered. I don't know why, but fair enough. So that's one. Two, 47,000 lives. How many of those were suicides? And of course, if you're looking at the screen here, Costas Moros replies to this rather brilliantly. How many of those 47,000 were by people with concealed carry permits? So again, how many of the 47,000 people that were killed, supposedly, in 2023 by firearms, how many were killed by concealed carry holders? Or, in my, because let's look at it this way. A drive-by, right? You're in Chicago, you're in LA, wherever. And someone does a drive-by and kills 5 people. Tragic, no doubt about it. Those guns weren't concealed. In fact, they were probably illegally possessed. Whoops. Someone like this Luigi Mangione scumbag, okay? Again, not legally possessed. And was concealed up until the last second, perhaps. How many were officer-involved shootings where the person, officers don't carry their firearms, their primaries concealed. They don't. They don't need to. So how many were officer-involved shootings where the officer had to dispatch someone and, again, not concealed? So anyway, how many of those 47,000 were by people with concealed permits? Your own despicable website, Concealed Carry Killers, says it is 2,541 in the last, ready for this, 18 years. So, where did my iPad go? There it is. Hard to find things on the desk, apparently. 18 years. So we have 2,541, was it? Yes. Divided by 18. And look at that. We get 141 per year. Okay? Except, here's the thing. And again, Moros points this out. Except of those, 1,505 were suicide. And you defame them as killers because they're scum. You are scum. And again, I'm quoting Costas here. So basically you have, 1,036 left? 1,036. And people that took their own life, unfortunately, they listened to the devil on their shoulder, talking to them, trying to get them to do a bad thing. And they did. They took their own lives. That's really tragic. Okay. So again, just over 1,036 in 18 years. So about 55 roughly per year. And even that, again, as he points out here, includes accidents, people claiming self-defense with trials pending. Only 561 have been convicted, again, over 18 years. So your own defamatory website proves violent crime by those with CCW permits is exceptionally rare. And again, I would ask you this. Anyway, he covers it pretty well there. So 561 convicted over 18 years. 561. That is divided by 18. That's 31 per year. 31. 31 people in a nation of 330 million. 31. Yeah. Meanwhile, I bet you Antifa has probably, 561 convicted. How many was it? Let's see, 2,541 last 18 years. How many people do you think have domestic terrorists? So like Antifa, the Weather Underground, that sort of thing. How many do you figure they've killed? Either officially or unofficially. Let's put it that way. I'm willing to bet it's easily more than that. Anyway. Okay. Let's move on, because that's just, again, that's something we can play on all day. All day. Let's see here. There was something else. Where was that? Oh, there's the one about, about the nationwide concealed carry we were just talking about. Okay. Here we go. So the HPA, the Hearing Protection Act. Like I said, this has been a lot of controversy. Now, stupid people love to comment on things they don't know about. Hence, this person, Primal Fury, spelled with a Y. So I'm guessing this person listened to Stryper back in the 80s, who spelled their name, their band's name. But apparently they have a new album coming out, by the way. So if you're a Stryper with a Y fan, you're going to be very happy really quickly here, because Stryper's back. Anyway, Primal Fury. Ever heard a gun silenced in real life? No bang, no boom, no loud noises, just a simple clicking noise. Most people hear the click and don't think anything of it. They continue their day. Someone with a silenced weapon could effectively kill a lot more people than someone without a silenced weapon. And so Dana Lash replies, please be a parody account, because, my dude, you have never fired suppressed. Ever. Fact. Now, she's probably right. Because here's the thing. Let me put it this way. If the only thing he shot is, say, a suppressed 1022 with subsonic rounds, okay, yeah. Or better yet, what is it called? A bolt action. Let's just say a bolt action 22 with a suppressor and subsonic rounds. Yeah. That is very quiet. You hear the hammer, you hear the firing pin go forward and hit. That's what you hear, the click. That's all you hear. Outside of that, if you're using supersonic 22 or anything above that, so even subsonic 9mm, you hear a hell of a lot more than a click. Okay? Let me put it to you this way. I'm going to show you one of my registered SBRs, okay, right now. This is a Flux, what do they call this? The M17 chassis. Anyway, Flux M17 chassis, okay? Now, for those of you who have never seen one of these, you take a SIG P320 upper, and they also make one for the 365, and you put it on there and you drop the fire control kit into the gun. Now, hold on just a second here, just to show you this gun is not loaded. You take the magazine out, and I have to do this out of range of the camera because YouTube will have a freak out. Okay, so the gun is not chambered, as you can see. Sticking my finger in just to verify. There you go. Not chambered. Okay, so the way this works is you take that fire control group, you drop it in there, and it's even got a manual safety, which is kind of cool. and then you drop the upper on top of it. Now, this has a suppressor on it, and if you're running around and you want to extend the stock on this, you push that button, and there's your stock. Okay? Pretty cool little deal. I have a 6-hour, Romeo 5 website on top, or red dot on top of it. Anyway, neat little pistol, now registered as an SBR. That's why I have the stock on it instead of the SBR attachment that it came with. Anyway, but even this, if you shoot this with subsonic ammunition, okay, and this has a Yankee Hill suppressor on it with a recoil booster, you kind of have to have that. Even this with subsonic ammo is a hell of a lot louder than a click, okay? So again, we confirmed that the gun is not loaded. This is what he's saying you will hear. There we go. This is what he's saying you'll hear. That. You will not hear that. You will not hear that from any of my firearms that are suppressed. Not from this, not from any of them. If the only thing you could possibly hear just the clicking noise on, outside of a movie, of course, is, like I said, subsonic 22 bolt action rifle. And you could argue maybe a 1022. They're pretty quiet too. But a subsonic 22 bolt action rifle, that's pretty quiet. Anyway, school shooters aren't going to be that. Now, that's the second thing. And even readers added context to this. Firearm silencers or suppressors do not completely silence a firearm. Most suppressors only reduce the sound by approximately 30 decibels. This would take the average gunshot to approximately 160 to 130 decibels, still louder than a jackhammer. Okay, so yes, that is true as well. Anybody who thinks that they honestly make it quieter than ultra quiet, you're smoking. It isn't that way. It isn't. 300 blackout is very quiet, especially subsonic rounds. But again, not quiet like a whisper or a click. Get that out of the way for a minute. So be very careful what you read, okay? And if you've ever shot a pistol suppressed or rifle, it's very cool. It is, you can, once you do it, you can understand why people want to do it. Now, here's the other thing. So this guy, when he made that comment, of course, he got just what's the term they use, ratio now, in that the number of negative comments about what he said versus the positive was huge. The ratio of negative to positive, that's what it means. But his argument is, and that's fine. I want to hear this person's argument. He has the right to speech. That's fine. First Amendment, right? His argument is that, okay, let's say you're having and I'm glad he thinks this way, actually, in a way. Let's say you're having a pep rally, okay, at a high school. Those can get pretty raucous and rowdy, right? Or you're at a football game, okay? Either way, we'll just say the pep rally because it's an enclosed space. And somebody comes in and wants to get frisky. You know, they want to come in and shoot the place up. His argument is that person is going to come in, do that, and no one's going to hear about it until the bodies start hitting the floor, to be rather blunt. Fair enough. That is a legitimate argument. As much as we might not like it, being in the 2A community, it's a legit argument. My response would be this. First of all, how did the person get in to the facility in the first place with a firearm? Now, people are sneaky. I understand that. How did he get in? What was the breakdown in security that allowed that to happen? Okay, that's one. Two, was there anything going on that should have alerted the school resource officers or school employees in general that this person was going to do that? No. Three, would this person have been able to carry out that shooting without a suppressor? And of course, the answer is yes, no question about it. Their argument is that, well, it wouldn't have been as effective. You know, they could maybe kill 4, 5, 6 people before anybody notices versus 1, maybe 2, if they weren't suppressed. And again, I don't agree with that, but let's just take that as let's just go ahead and assume that's correct for the moment. Okay. And that comes to my last point. Would this person be able to do this or to get a sound suppression device of some sort, even if it was not legal? And the answer is undoubtedly yes. Because here's the thing. If I want to suppress that pistol there, or that now short barrel rifle there, okay, that registered SBR, if I wanted to suppress that, there's lots of ways to do that. Lots of ways. Okay. They could use an oil filter. Okay. Oil filters. You can get attachments that will allow you, thread adapters that will allow you to take thread pitch on an oil filter and adapt it to whatever the thread on the end of your barrel is. Okay. And even in states that have, that have laws like Washington, which is ridiculous, against threaded barrels. It's not hard to thread a barrel. It really isn't. It's not. Or attach it in, anyway. And plus, you can buy threaded barrels. That's not hard to do. Maybe you go across the state line. They're not regulated per se. So let's say you were in Washington. You just drive over to Idaho. No big deal. Now, will an oil filter hold out for much longer than, say, 4 or 5 shots? Probably not. But after 4 or 5 shots, people are probably going to notice someone's shooting anyway. At least you would hope. Maybe not the whole gym, but the people around it. There's also other things you could use. A pillow, for example. They're not playing when they have pillows act as silencers in movies. Is it the best way to do it? No, not even close. But it sure muffles the gunshot. So I understand what this person's saying, but first of all, they need to educate themselves on what they're talking about. In that, what a suppressor can and cannot do. What it actually sounds like when you shoot suppressed. I guess I need to bring out, I had recorded some stuff years ago. It was done on an old Motorola Razr V3. So the sound quality isn't exactly fantastic, but it's there. Actually, I should bring that up. You know what? I ought to. I really, really ought to. Let me see if I can find this thing real quick, guys. Sorry, my youngest loves to have stuff on my feed. This is not wanting to work. Anyway, so she's got all kinds of stuff. Kiddos, blah, 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 blah. My goodness, there's a lot of photos in here. Anyway, the point is that you get all this stuff. You get people who really don't, there's your pumpkins right there. So, like, there's my son shooting suppressed, way, 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 way back in the day. Fun times. Anyway, the point is maybe I need to go out and record suppressed versus unsuppressed and then have it be with different firearms, just so people can hear this. I won't be able to bring this out, so the sound quality is not going to be quite as good, but at least it would illustrate it. And you can hear it on, you can actually, you know what? I don't even need to do that. You can hear this on lots of forums, lots of places, and it'll give you an idea. But is it like doing it in real life? No. So whoever this Primal Fury person is, sir, with respect, I would love to host you shooting suppressed. I would love to have you actually do that and understand that it is not like the movies. This is not Terminator 2, where Linda Hamilton's character, Sarah Connor, is sitting up on a roof and takes a select fire, basically an M16, and runs it on full automatic, and all you hear is this, essentially whispers. These little whispers or squirts, whatever you want to call it. It didn't like that, not even remotely. The transonic crack would be enough to give away that someone is shooting. It wouldn't necessarily tell you where because it's non-directional, but it would definitely tell you someone is shooting. All right. That'll be enough of that for now. Oh, and by the way, there is video of that idiot Ben Cohen getting thrown out of the HHS hearing the other day. Alex Jones posted this. I don't know. It's 28 seconds. I guess we could play it.
Disruptions will not be permitted while the committee conducts its business. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room.
So here's the thing. This is what worries me, and thankfully these guys were here. I guess it has always worried me a little bit that these people can just come in and start throwing things around like that, start getting angry and mad. And you saw the Secret Service get up very quickly to defend. But yeah, wow, that's kind of scary. Anyway, let's get Brandy Cruz just posted this. It was actually posted by Kevin Dalton and retweeted by Brandy. And it doesn't say this is AI. So let's see here. Let's hear what Gavin has to say, shall we? I'm always interested to hear Gavin.
And I'm just, on behalf of the taxpayers of the state, in the spirit of Ashley's question, I'm not interested. I'm just not, as a taxpayer, not just governor, I'm not interested in funding failure anymore. I'm not. I won't. Time to do your job. People are dying on their watch. How do people get reelected? Look at these encampments. They're a disgrace. They've been there years and years and years and years. I've heard that same rhetoric for years. People are dying. Kids are being born. Overdoses. I met a young man, literally, was out there doing Project Homeless Connect, reaching out near the 405 freeway. I found out the next day he was dead. In the name of compassion, because we had a notice. I could have helped him that night. I felt like a fraud. I felt like I let him down. We got to be more aggressive. I saw a young child, a young kid in San Diego. I was with the mayor of San Diego right before his State of the State. This poor kid was addicted to meth. He was a wonderful kid. And he said, I'm really glad you came. He goes, I'm struggling. And there in the tent with his wife was a newborn baby. He said, thank you for coming. There's no compassion in denying what the hell's going on in the streets and sidewalks. They need to step up. Enough of the rhetoric. I'm serious. Enough of the rhetoric. People are dying in this state. It is a disgrace. It is one of the principal reasons people are so angry. They don't trust politicians. They don't like what they see. I'm sorry to get so intense about it. It's a moral issue. They need to do their job. And if they can't do it, let me know. Just say we give up. And then we'll intervene. We'll come up with different strategies and different approaches. But I'm sick and tired of all the barriers and all the BS.
So Brandy's comment was, please tell me this is an AI. This is AI. No one, not even Gavin Newsom, could be this shameless. Now, what she's referring to there is the fact that Gavin's pretty much been supportive of all this for years. He has kind of helped it along for years. So isn't it weird to hear him say all of a sudden that he is so against it? Gavin, you encourage this. I don't know. The movements seem a little bit wonky. I don't know why I say that, but it does seem like it's an AI. I don't know. It could be real. Who knows? I just, let me put it this way. It would not surprise me. Okay. Food benefit thing. Here's the other thing. So this is, anyway, did Gavin say that? I don't know. But again, it shouldn't surprise anybody. I guess that's my biggest thing is why does this surprise people? Why do politicians, all of a sudden, especially liberal politicians, turning on a dime and then saying, well, absolutely, this is unacceptable, when they helped create it? Why is that such a surprise to anybody? I mean, I go back to The Simpsons. It's pretty scary when I'm quoting The Simpsons. I go back to The Simpsons, the episode where Mayor Quimby is out there. They're being invaded by snakes or something like that. And he says, wow, we've got to destroy the snakes. And Lisa Simpson pipes up and says, oh, no, snakes are not, bad. It's not the snake's fault, blah, 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 or something like that. And the townspeople all of a sudden are like, yeah, we shouldn't kill the snakes. And then Quimby comes out and goes, well, I've always said that we shouldn't kill the snakes. They're our friends. We shouldn't have any of these snake killing things going on, or something to that effect. That's what Gavin's doing right now. This whole thing where he's conservative Gavin is utter BS. Everybody knows it. He knows it. And yet, here we are getting worked up about it. There's about 1,000 other things that we need to be talking about than Gavin Newsom. And yet, here we are. He's a politician. Of course, that's what he's doing. Of course it is. Stop being surprised by it. Guys, come on. All right, speaking of slimebag politicians, here is Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, supposedly. House Democrats, this is from yesterday, have demonstrated once again that they are willing to abuse the Constitution in their effort to impede the agenda of the American people. Their latest sham impeachment charade against President Trump is another embarrassing political stunt. Today, House Republicans will move to promptly discard it. Okay, so they're talking about that little, I can't remember what nationality he is. Thai, I think he is. Thai American, whatever. American of Thai descent. Who's out there trying to, get an impeachment thing going. No one cares about this, honestly. So Data Republican replied back, Speaker Johnson has demonstrated once again he's willing to abuse his position in an effort to impede the agenda of the American people. His latest sham, canceling Friday's votes and blaming everyone else, is another embarrassing failure of leadership. Today, rather than addressing real issues, he's trying to distract us with performative tweets. He called it zeets. I don't quite understand that. While Speaker Johnson is throwing others under the bus, avoiding tough decisions, playing political games, and demonstrating how disconnected he is from the priorities of the American people, Americans are waiting on him to deliver lower taxes for families, to restore American energy dominance, to strengthen border security, to restore peace through strength, and to making government work more efficiently and effectively. The contrast between MAGA and Speaker Johnson has never been more clear. And then she followed this up with, just to be clear, you have the majority, so I'm not interested in blaming Democrats. If I understand correctly, when the GOP is unified, Democrats don't have many meaningful tools to block progress in the House, so stop throwing them under the bus. And of course, she's 100% right. If we actually had representatives in the House of Representatives that represented the people they are elected to represent, and I've said represent a whole bunch of times now, then this wouldn't be a problem. Wouldn't be a problem at all. Not even a little bit. Not even slightly. But they don't. I mean, look at this thing with the Hearing Protection Act. Get suppressors, get SBRs, or as I like to call them, long barrel pistols, off of the NFA. The only thing that should be on the NFA are explosives, and maybe, I don't even think select fire should be on there, but if you want to, we'll keep it on there for now. Let's put it that way. I mean, this thing with, we lowered the suppressor tax to 0. Okay, but you still, to make an SBR, like my other SBR right here, MP5, or SP5 more accurately, to do that, I had to pay $200. Why? Why? I can't conceal that thing. Not really. Not well. Let's put it that way. Why do I have to pay that? That's crazy. That's one. Codifying. Doge cuts. That's 2. They're not doing it. Number 3, this is just like, let me put it this way. This is just like the Trump first term. We're going to have 2 years of these dipwads screwing around, throwing everything that President Trump is trying to do under the bus. They're going to get shellacked in the midterms because people aren't smart enough to realize, some people aren't smart enough to realize that, nothing got done because certain people. So let me put it this way. I hope the Republicans that are incumbents and screwing around with this get primaried, and then their replacements they win, right? But we are taking what should be a diehard, invincible, relatively so, majority, and we're just throwing it away. The Republicans, like I said, they are more comfortable being in the minority. They love being in the minority because then they don't get blamed for anything. But now they don't like this. They don't like this because all the power players in D.C. are liberals because it's grift, right? So they're losing their ability to get into these fancy clubs and stuff like that because they're opposing what the liberals want. So instead of shrinking government and getting these people out of there, no, we're going to keep playing the game. Honest to God. And here's the thing that's really disappointing. If this HPA thing goes through and a bunch of other people, a bunch of these other things don't happen in a short fashion, I would expect Marjorie Taylor Greene to be on the floor of the House calling for a no confidence vote in this ding-dong Johnson. Honest to God. It needs to happen. If he can't do that, he is no better than Kevin McCarthy or Paul Ryan. Not even slightly. Put someone in there who actually GSD, gets stuff done, okay? Be it Byron Donalds, be it, I don't know, somebody who will get things done. That's what we need. Just saying. So good on Data Republican. Great analysis. No doubt about it. Bob Ferguson. Oi. Thomas Massey, people piss about him and Rand Paul, but when you actually listen to what he says, he kind of makes sense. I think he says, GOP leadership put this Wasserman Schultz resolution to a vote and then announced we would go home a day early. I think anti-Semitism is bad, but dictating what people can say and think is not Congress's job. Not to mention it's unconstitutional. I voted no. So when are we going to do our jobs? That's a great question, Tom. That is a very good question, Representative Massey. I wonder that too. When are you guys going to do your jobs? When are you going to do the things that you were elected to do? Because right now, it's not there. All right. Ted Nugent. I forgot about this. Oh, for those of you who can't see the video, let me explain this to you. So Ted Nugent sends out this tweet, and I love Ted's stuff. Ted's a diehard Second Amendment guy. Breaking news. Gun manufacturers plan to rebrand the AR-15 as MS-13 so Democrats won't ban them. The best humor has a kernel of truth, and this is very true in this case. No doubt about it. All right, now, speaking of crazy, wacko, lunatic stuff, this is coming out of California. So this insane thing, these fires that rip through the coastal area of California that a lot of us are pretty sure were not accidental. Let's put it that way. If you thought it was bad, you didn't have a clue. I didn't have a clue. Let's hear this gentleman who apparently is a realtor named Jeffrey Daniels. This was tweeted out by Wall Street Apes. Let's hear what he says here because this is insane. Absolutely mental.
And the other thing that people need to understand is everything here is on septic. Nothing is on a city sewer system. Every dwelling in Malibu has a separate septic system. And these houses in front, many of them were built in the 40s, in the 50s, in the 60s. And the codes were almost non-existent. So they have septic systems that are in place now.
So in other words, liberalism hadn't run completely rampant yet.
That are completely unacceptable in 2025 when they rebuild. Not that they'll rebuild in 2025, 2055, when they rebuild. And they're going to have to update the septic system, which means Coastal Commission, Ocean, Sierra Club, dig it all out. And because of the proximity of the ocean, they're going to have to build seawalls so that erosion won't take their septic system. So they're going to be several $1 million into stuff that's buried in the ground, a seawall, not above the ground, but a seawall that's in the ground so that the storm and the erosion can't get to it. New septic system. I mean, they may be $3, $4, $5 million into it before one piece of 2x4 is even put up in terms of framing the new house.
Jeez.
Do you know how much bureaucracy, red tape,
That is crazy.
and permits worth of nightmare this is going to be? Because regardless of whatever the mayor says and whatever the governor says about expediting this stuff, a septic system is a septic system. The code is the code. The seawall is the seawall. And they're all going to have.
So this is the thing. I know you're probably thinking, some of you, or if this story gets out, some of your family members will be like, so they're multimillionaires. They can afford it. No, they can't. And here's the thing. People who have that much money generally aren't stupid. They understand return on investment. And guess what? If I own a place, or I own land, let's say when the land was there and the house was built, the land was worth, I don't know. Land was worth $7 million. Okay. We'll just say that for fun. If I have to put $5 million into rebuilding the septic system, putting in, like he said, all these pieces, seawall, et cetera, et cetera. If I have to put even $3 million in, that's almost half the value of that property when it's built. And then I have to build the house on top of that, okay, which isn't going to be cheap because, again, all these codes now are there that weren't there before. So all of a sudden, my $7 million property, I might break even on it if I rebuild it and then sell it. I might break even, maybe. And again, if it's up from that, if it's not a $3 million investment, if it's $5 million, then it gets really expensive. Then I'm not going to be making money on that because my home, to build that home, is probably going to be quite spendy, as I want it to be luxury. I want to be able to sell it. So I'm going to have to probably try and sell that home for $8, $9, $10 million just to make back some of my investment. And that's not including, all the other things that go into it, electrical, all that other stuff. So of course, then what's the answer? What's going to happen? Well, strangely enough, the government could come in and buy it. And guess what? The government, they have an unlimited pool of money because idiots like us, we pay them. We give them our tax money. Okay. So they can print the money too. They could get a loan, using the air quotes, get a loan from the federal government, and then they're golden. Oh, well, you know what? We have 100 homes here, and it's going to cost us. We're buying all this land, and they'll buy it at pennies on the dollar. Believe me, they will find a way to do that. They'll come in. Well, you know what? The house burnt down, and we're going to have to do all this stuff. So I know you paid $7 million for it, or that's what it was worth. But look at all this stuff. We can only give you maybe 3 or 2. Whoops. So. And frankly, in some cases, the people are going to be like, yeah, you know what? That's fine. I'll take it. Whatever. Yeah, I'll lose it. I can write it off. Or right now it's worth nothing to me and it's going to cost me $10 million to rebuild it. Yeah, I'll take the $2 million. Done. Okay. So they buy up a big stretch. Oh, you know what? We're going to rebuild this as something the state owns. It'll be an observatory or something like that. I don't know what the hell it would be, but then they'll go for a little while, or maybe they'll just let it sit. And then somewhere down the line, oh, you know what? Yeah, that land, we ended up selling it. Well, who'd you sell it to? Oh, this person. Really? What'd they pay for it? We don't know. They'll find a way to get it over to people or they'll have a construction company build it, or it'll be done in cooperation with someone who is friends with a governor or friends with a politician. This is corrupt as hell, 100% corrupt. But again, they're not the only ones doing this. We talked about with Washington with the, potential value. Yeah, same deal. All right. Anyway, so there's that. Yikes. I realize we have not taken
And the other thing
we haven't taken a single music break yet. Yikes. Let's do that real quick. We'll just take a brief one here. And then we'll come back and we'll discuss a few more really quick topics. All right. All right, welcome back, everybody. So, I want to end this segment with something that I think is a little bit more inspirational and something that's really good, a positive note, as it were. There's two stories that came out in the last 2 days. The first was regarding the attempt by by Washington State to essentially insert themselves into religious freedom. And we talked about this a couple days ago or last week at some point, where it was the state now requires that anyone who is any clergy member that is in confession and hears someone talk about how they, committed a pedophilic act or they did something, out of the way there, that they were required to report that to, and it's not just the Catholic Church, it's Islam, Judaism, etc. They had to report any kind of child safety issues to the law enforcement. And of course that violates the whole point of a confessional. It is between you, God, and if there's a clergy member there, that member of the clergy acting supposedly as a conduit to God. And also just the human aspect of it. Well, and of course the Catholic Church fired back and said, yeah, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but if you do that, if you violate the privacy of the confessional with the confidentiality of confession, you will be excommunicated, priest or whatever you are, you will be excommunicated. And the Catholic Church is not screwing around with this. They're dead serious. And I'm glad. Now, how does that relate to the other story I'm going to talk about? Well, it's very simple. This is from the Wall Street Journal. And again, the Wall Street Journal's editorial page is about as close to down the center, I think, as you will ever find when it comes to politics. They have liberals, they have conservatives. Sometimes they have people who are kind of a mix of the two. And the title of this is Young People Find Their Catholic Calling. Subhead, students discuss what's driving them toward the church. Now, this is kind of cool. So you say you want a revolution. In the 1960s, rebellion meant free love and LSD. Boomers rejected conformity and built a society centered on so-called liberation. Decades later, their revolution is our status quo. I would disagree with that a little bit, but okay. But Zoomers aren't trying to escape the past. They're focused on the future. Young people are turning to Catholicism to build things that last in a society racked by moral decay. The oldest Western church offers something we've never had. So I'm taking it that this author, let's see here. Who is it, the author? They don't even say. That's crazy. Something that we've never had. Tradition. Cardinals and bishops embody hierarchical, there we go, words, authority that academia can't rival. Norms change, the sacraments do not. The pandemic, so-called pandemic, unmoored us from secular communities. Chapels stayed open when governments tried to shut them down. Even technology abets Catholicism's rise. Zoomers are drowning in personalized algorithms and have infinite self-actualization. What we want is something unchosen, unchanging, and outside of ourselves. In 2025, rebellion means going to Latin Mass, not Woodstock. And that was, there it is, Jacob Hornstein, University of Austin, philosophy. So he actually illustrates something here too. What's the other big thing? Like he said, sacraments don't change. So what's another really really big thing, especially in the United States, that we have in our DNA, to use kind of an Apple term there? Standing up against authority. So in this case, it's government trying to tell these institutions, in this case Catholicism, well, you guys have to do this because we say so. And Catholicism saying, you're funny. You really think we fear you? We couldn't care less about you. We will follow your laws, the laws of man. We will do that as long as it doesn't interfere or contradict the laws of God. God is very clear about that, as was Jesus after, in the New Testament. Yeah, follow the laws of man until and unless they contradict or, come in conflict with the laws of God. At that point, you need to follow God. Was it Daniel did this where, or gosh, who was that? He was brought in and, the king said, yeah, you're going to follow my laws. Okay, yeah, I can do that. But I'm not going to follow this law because this counteracts, or this is in direct conflict with what God told me to do. So I can't do that. I'm sorry. I won't do that. If you need to kill me, kill me. That's fine. I will follow all the rest of these laws. That's fine. I may not agree with them, but I'll follow them. But this law, I cannot follow because it's antithetical to God. And that's another thing is that's that level of rigidity, that level of not just inability to compromise, but unwillingness to compromise belief is inspirational. It's something that, again, these kids who have basically everything handed to them on a silver platter, it's something they look at and go, oh, okay. Yeah, I get you on this. I get you totally on that. That's awesome. Let's do that. Okay. Now, another part of this, which is really kind of a neat thing here, The Search for Beauty. This was written by Ellie Fromm from Hillsdale College. Hillsdale was a very constitutionally centered school. They would say conservative. I would say that's reasonable, I guess. We live in a world of abstract art, ugly buildings, and vulgar music. The worst part is that we can't openly call these things unappealing without facing cultural backlash. 100% true, by the way. Most art today doesn't evoke a sense of beauty or reaching for something higher. It looks like something made by humans for humans, not made for their creator. Excuse me. Those on campuses aren't allowed to rebuke these ugly arts. But even those unconstrained by college can recognize there's some inherent beauty lacking in today's arts that is present in Renaissance and Gothic creations. Catholicism celebrates its beauty and spiritual allure, reasserting that it guides believers to contemplate the Trinity, the Virgin Mary, and the saints. The church isn't afraid. Its beauty is in an actualization of the truth sought within the cathedral's walls. No one could call the stained glass of the Sainte-Chapelle in Paris ugly, for it is breathtaking. That's, for those of you watching the video, that's this right here, stained glass. It's amazing to look at. No one could call the spires on the Milan Cathedral uninspired. See what they did there, by the way. Or say that the domes of St. Peter's Basilica are unimpressive, or the dome, rather, of St. Peter's Basilica is unimpressive. Inherently, people want beautiful things. These aesthetics inspire and encourage one to learn beyond the physical. We don't want to be part of something, or who doesn't want to be part of something beautiful? I would kind of urge caution with that last part. People inherently want beautiful things. Now, here's why I say I would encourage caution. Who is the most beautiful angel in heaven? If you answered Lucifer, you're correct. Before his fall, before he became Satan, or known as Satan, before he was the evil one, the Antichrist, Lucifer was generally realized to be the most beautiful angel in heaven. But his beauty was what led to his downfall. He became vain and thinking that he was above everything else. So be very careful with that. I would say that people want inspirational things. They want things that they say, these aesthetics inspire and encourage one. Well, aspiration and inspiration are two things that they want. Beauty is definitely some part of it, but beauty is just the tip of the iceberg, I guess is where I would go with that. If beauty encourages you to say, wow, that's amazing, and it was created for the glory of God, okay, I'm in. God, if this is a tribute, this isn't even what God represents. This is just something that kind of is a tribute to it. It's kind of like the old Tenacious D thing, a tribute to the greatest song ever written, right? It's not the greatest song. God is that greatest song. God is beauty and strength and, everything good in the world beyond our reckoning, completely beyond our reckoning. the best thing we can do is a shadow of that. It's our tribute to that. That's what St. Peter's Basilica or the Sainte-Chapelle or the Milan Cathedral or the Notre Dame, that's what it is. Just careful with that. Anyway, this is a great article, and I'm glad it was written. I'm glad to see it. And again, it just kind of reiterates what I was saying before is it's that strength. It's that rock-ribbedness. Now, that's one of the reasons why a lot of people were very frustrated. A lot of Catholics were very frustrated with Pope Francis because Francis was weak. He gave in to all this stuff. He was fine with the alphabet soup. He was fine with criticizing following the law. They talk about the immigration thing. Yes, we are all sojourners, but the Bible is also very clear, especially in the New Testament, or in the Old Testament rather, but in the New Testament as well, on how sojourners are to be treated. And if the sojourners don't follow your laws, cast them out, or worse. Okay? Look at the Torah, read it. Leviticus. I know it's a tough read. I really do. I get that. Leviticus is very hard to read. But there you go. That kind of sets in a lot of the laws, a lot of the foundation, not only for Judaism, but for Christianity, arguably even kind of sort of for Islam. Maybe not as much, but yeah, it's there. So anyway, like I said, those are two stories about one topic that I was glad to see it. It heartened me a lot. It heartened me to see that stuff. And I cannot wait. I hope Pope Leo really brings Christianity back on course and then takes it to the next step. You know what I'm saying? He really starts to expand the church's outreach, and that outreach is consistent with what God wants, not with what man wants, but with God. And he can persuade people to come to God, come to Jesus, and see that. All right. This has been the first segment of the Chris Richman Show for Thursday, May 15th, 2025. We appreciate you joining us today. As always, go with God, and we'll see you in the second segment.